So we talk, there's on the wide receiver for a corner. Still talking corners right now. We call it ink or orc, wherever that thing is going to be at. Again, we're going to be ink all the time, unless his split tells me to go outside. Unless his split tells me to line up in an orc position. We're going to line up inside on what that is. So we call it match again. So let's get to the safeties. Talk about where those guys line up at, where they look, what they're doing, where they are. Again, don't make it too difficult for what these guys have to do in man coverage. If it's a safety to the formation, generally your field side safety. If he has just a tight end, that could be just a tight end and no split. That could be a tight end and a wing. That could be a tight end in the Z. Whatever that is, to his side. He's going to line up 2 by 8, 2 yards outside, 8 yards deep off of the tight end, looking at the tight end. Now you say, Coach, didn't you say that you got to play inside leverage to play man coverage on what that is? Now you're telling the guy to line up outside on the tight end? We're going to, number one, it's for a force run positioning to make sure that we're lined up on and provide some sort of a secondary force for our men. And secondly, our inside backer, he's taught this too. Hey, guess what? Your safety's lining up outside that tight end. So on throw, what do you think that means for you, outside linebacker? You better get his butt collision and widened 2 yards. That's what the alignment is telling to that outside linebacker. That he better collision that tight end, so he better be in a position that he can play the run and also collision the tight end to widen his release at least 2 yards. There's the alignment on what that is. If we have 2 or 3 open, doesn't matter. Does not change our position. Does not change our position. Whether we have 1 receiver wide, whether we have 2 open receivers or a third in like a 3 by 1 third open. Now number 3 means nothing to me because number 2 is my man as a safety. The corners have the number 1s. Safeties are both 2 matchers. They have the number 2 receiver, whether it's a tight end or whether it's going to be a wide out. Doesn't matter. Where there's keys. If he has a tight end that he's lined up on, that's his key. He's looking right at the tight end. Tight ends will tell you all the time what's happening for the safety anyway. It'll tell him where his reaction, where his key is going to go. If he has 2 open or 3 open, the good ones look into the backfield and then get to number 2. Most of our guys can't do that. That's clinic talk to me. Most of our guys can't do that. We've had one guy in the past couple years that was able to read into the backfield and also play onto his man, so we could use him a little bit more in run support. The rest of them, we're just looking at number 2. That's our guy. We're going to protect our fatal and play number 2. That's where our eyes are at. That's where our alignment's at. That's where we're playing. That's what we're doing. So when we talk about what this is, so when we talk about where our run responsibility is at, where it breaks down, where it goes, if I get run to me, I'm going to come down on it. If I get run away, cut back, boot, reverse. One thing that we don't allow, and we rep this 2 times a week within what we have. If I get run that goes away from me from a tight end, a safety naturally wants to come down here, but that's not where he's going to be needed. We want him to stay on his fence line so that even if he has to insert into the cutback or the reverse, now he has an angle obviously for boot and reverse. But if it's run, we don't want to be taking a banana path to collision at 4 and now it drags me to 6. We want to come to 6, 8 or 6 and then play it straight forward, if that makes sense to you. That's why we always tell them when run goes away to stay on your fence line. Stay back with depth. Don't fight the temptation to come down to the LOS. Stay down on it. If we get any sort of bubble, our safety has it. Our safety has the bubble of number 2. Anything we do, obviously cover 2 is going to be a little bit different, but any sort of man coverage quarters that we're going to play, or a version of 2 read or whatever what we're going to do, if we have a 2 bubble and it opens away from me, that's the safety's responsibility. He's going to run down the bubble. If it's a 3 bubble, the outside backer will always have that part of it. Why is this important? Because when we get to this part of it right here, this is it, right here. So if I'm a 2-matcher as a safety, if he goes vertical past 5 yards, he's mine. I've got him. He's my guy. I follow him from now until forever. He's my man. I have him. If number 2 goes in or out before 5 yards, we're going to let the linebacker take it. That's why it's an underneath zone with a man concept over the top for us. So it's simple, it's really easy to play. He goes in there, what if it's at 6 yards? What if it's at 7? What if he does that and he starts it at 5, but then he rolls it to 7? Coach, what is that thing? So what if we have 2 guys on him? It's all right. Especially with the safety, you should be the one that always verifies that. You should be the one that sees it happening. And you should always verify with what that linebacker is taking and where he's going to be at. Again, we're going to try to read into the uncovers and verify with our number 2s. We're going to try to read into the backfield if we can. Again, last 3 years I've had 1 guy that can do that. So that's a lot of clinic talk. A lot of times we just end up eyeballing that number 2 receiver.